they didn't stop worshipping the devils and the idols. Why? Because they did not change their minds. They did not repent from the works of their own hands. And these idols are neither able, the idols, the handmade idols, don't have the capability to observe, nor to hear, nor to walk. And they did not repent out from their murders, or from their fornication, or from their thefts. I want to note here that John did not write regarding the idols that those did not speak, because at a future time, which we'll read about in chapter 13, there will be an idol, a handmade idol, that will speak without a man programming it. And that will be by the devil's power. However, in this context, in chapter 9, John wrote regarding the idols which were not able to observe, they couldn't see, contemplate things, they couldn't hear, listen to somebody speaking to them, they couldn't walk around, and the people did not repent from their murders. Now, murders, of course, refers to wrongful killings of men, women, and children. And they didn't repent from their sorceries. And that word sorceries refers to the preparation and use of medicines, drugs, potions, poisons. You know, it's like pharmacy, but used in the bad sense of the magical arts of enchantment, incantations, spells, witchcraft, wizardry. All of that are part of sorceries. So these men did not repent from their murders, nor from the sorceries, nor from their fornication. You know, that's the wrongful sexual activity, and may indeed be in connection with idolatry. Nor out from their thefts, stealing what is not rightfully theirs to have. John continues in chapter 10 of Revelation. And here in chapter 10, John writes the details of the effects or events that will follow the sixth angel blowing his trumpet, which is during the second of 3 woes, which we looked at earlier in Revelation chapter 8, verse 13. So at the moment, we're reading about the second woe, which spans from Revelation 9:13 to 11:13. So let's continue in chapter 10, verse 1. And I, John, saw, I perceived or knew with my mind another angel who was inherently strong. Now this angel was not one of the 7 angels with the trumpets, but this angel did have strength. He was inherently strong, and this angel was descending out from heaven, moving downwards from the sky above. And he was clothed, and continues clothed with the what? A cloud. You know, the cloud was as though wrapped around him, like a vesture or clothing. And a circle of light, a complete circle of colored light, was on his head. And his face, his visage, his countenance, his presence is shining as the sun. And his feet are as pillars or firm supports, columns consisting of fire. And having in his hand a little book, and this refers to a very small book, which has already been opened and is continuing open. So he's a little small book. And he placed or set his foot. Which foot? He put his right foot on the sea, which indicates the purpose is to demonstrate his strong authority over the sea. But the left foot he put on the earth. So he put his left foot on the earth, demonstrating his strong authority over the earth or the land, as opposed to the sea. And this angel shouted with a great sound, a large voice, loudly, entirely as a lion bellowing. And when this angel shouted, the seven thunders, the seven rolling or rumbling sounds uttered forth the sounds of themselves. So the thunders made their sound. And again, that thunder refers figuratively to God's presence, an expression of command, judgment, and righteousness or justice in action. So when the angel shouted with a large sound, the seven thunders uttered their sounds. And in verse 4, John writes, when the seven thunders spoke, I was about to write those things. So John understood what they said. However, John writes, and I heard a sound coming from heaven, saying, you must seal, securely fasten, put a mark of authentication and approval on it. In this case, of course, John is being instructed to seal in his mind. He already understood what the thunders communicated to him. He was about to write it down, and he heard the sound coming from heaven saying, you must seal. What? The things which the seven thunders uttered forth, and you must not write them. John did not write the contents of what the seven thunders spoke. John wrote only the fact that he heard them and what he was instructed to write regarding what he spoke or what they spoke. He didn't write the contents of the seven thunders, what he heard, even though he understood. Continuing in verse 5 of chapter 10, John says, and the angel whom I perceived, who was standing on the sea and on the earth, lifted or took up his hand, his right hand, into heaven, and he swore. You know, to swear means to affirm or deny using an oath, making the outcome of what he says dependent upon the sworn oath. So the angel swore in the one living, and of course this refers to the authority, power, the name in which or by which he is swearing, and the one living refers to God. So the angel swore in the one living, in God, who is presently and actively alive, who continues living. Into the ages of the ages, God lives forever into eternity. God is the one who is living into the ages of the ages, and he is the one who created. God brought into being the heaven and the things in it, and the earth or the land, the ground, and the things in it, and the sea and the things in it. And there will not any longer be chronological time. So the angel swore in the one living, referring to God, into the ages of the ages, who created the heaven, things in them, the earth and the things in them, the sea and the things in it, that there will be no longer time, no more length of time passing in chronological order. There will be no quantity of time to pass in waiting for the implementation of judgments. There will be no more delay.